Hey, everybody. Welcome to another one of our great live streams that we have. I am Michael Mondragon, the chapter lead of Type Thursday Phoenix. With me is Matheo Cadena, the chapter lead of Type Thursday Los Angeles. And where are you at?
Michael, I'm coming to you live from the AIGA Design Conference. This is the national conference that happens every year, travels all over the country. And this year, it's in the beautiful downtown Los Angeles. You see a little bit of the background there at the Bonaventure Hotel. And yeah, I'm super excited, man.
That's great. And I know that we have a lot of great friends there and a lot of colleagues as well. And it's actually, it's kind of wasn't on my
Yes.
radar for a while. And because, Adobe Max, I've been so focused on Adobe Max at the end of this month. But tell me more of what AIGA, the conference, has there.
Yes, sir. And speaking of colleagues, I saw Rachel Elnar, the founder of the Type Thursday Los Angeles chapter. So she's here, the rock stars in the room. Julie Manthe from AIGA LA, one of our favorite people of all time. She supported everybody during our time at AIGA LA. And so AIGA, for those who don't know, it is a design association. They champion design from graphic design to trending design, UX UI experience, and bringing people together to have conversations about what's happening, what are the trends. And specifically, this conference brings people together from all over the country and speakers who hit different niche topics. And the one that I was jumped into, which I had the pleasure to like arrive right on time when it was happening, was about setting your price as a designer and how not to burn yourself out by underpricing yourself. Amazing conversation. So many people in the room needed to hear what those advice and those tips were. Um, I'll share one tip. A lot of designers tend to give a price and then scope creep happens and they start doing more work for free. And it's like, if you're doing work and you gave a quote and more work is getting added on by your client, that's when you say, would you like to know how much that would cost to add those additional tasks into this project? I can give you a quote for that. And usually the client will be like, yeah, sure. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, it's going to cost more. And you just proceed by saying, yep, that's more hours of work to be completed. So a little tip from a little nugget from today, basically. Yeah. And more conversations like this.
Yeah, those are such important conversations. I think that as designers, we love the craft and we don't mind doing it, and that sometimes runs into problems when you're billing. And so, any nuggets of advice are valuable. And also, we were talking about volunteering and the importance of volunteering, and that is
That's
exactly how
right.
you made it to this conference in the first place. Tell me more about that.
That's right, sir. All thanks to all the years of volunteering that I had done with the AIGA Los Angeles chapter. And now doing the volunteering with Type Thursday, what has happened is the people who are part of running the conference behind the scenes and who are helping market the conference, my friend Joseph Soto said to me, who's the president of AIGA LA, he's like, you've been a pillar in the Los Angeles community, thanks to all of the events that you're producing and the mentorship you're providing and the community spaces that you're building. So let's see if we can get you in. And we was able to like make it happen. And so this has been amazing because there's years, like 7+ years of volunteer work that I've done in Los Angeles for a lot of different nonprofit organizations. This moment feels like, oh wow, it's giving back to me right now. Because if you didn't know, these conference tickets are like $1,000+ to get into the conference, and a lot of people that right now it's very hard to be able to take that cost on, unless you have a company that's doing it for you, right? So yes, we talked about it before. The power of volunteering gets you connected to people, making friends, making community, making your network, and then also that network works for you, right? And in times like this, and yeah, it changes your career. So this is a wonderful, special moment right now. I'm like, oh, I'm living a dream.
Yeah, and the people that you mentioned before, we've known them from, almost a decade now of them volunteering, but also us volunteering for them. So, building this design community and also participating in it in a very unselfish way pays off dividends, in the end. And it's like putting pennies into a savings account, especially when, things like the pandemic comes along and, we, or, any, job layoffs, all these things, all these dividends actually add up when you're actually looking for work or looking for advice or even someone to look at your work.
Well said. I love that. You said it's like you're committed, you're investing your time into a piggy bank of community of people, and eventually that, and pennies don't add up at first, right? But they add up over the years, or they add up over time, a long time. And it's a long-term investment that comes back to you when you continue to show up and be consistent and help out in your community. So yeah, if you want
Yeah.
to volunteer, then message us on Instagram, send a DM to Type Thursday LA or Type Thursday PHX, and mention that you'd like to volunteer.
Yes. Well, we're always looking for people to help out, but also we give back as well. Type Thursday gives back. We want to know
Yes,
what makes it good for our volunteers as well.
absolutely. Yes, yeah, we're always looking for feedback and helping people in their careers. I think that's the biggest thing is if you're going to volunteer, we have to know what you want out of your career. And in that case, we can now help connect you to the right project or to the right people. Um, and sometimes that means, finding a project that fits your skill set or where you want to go. And a lot of times you can do that working with a nonprofit organization or another organization like Type Thursday, that's community based, because we need people to come in and complete projects all the time. So definitely check that out.
Yes. So our topic today is actually something that's also hard. I say it's just as hard as pricing sometimes,
Mhm.
which is the art of constructive critique, whether it's taking it or giving it. It's kind of a delicate subject with creatives because I will say from my personal experience that, being a creative and knowing what I know, sometimes I've had the attitude that I knew better than what other people knew. And it was only because I was making design decisions that were what I felt correct for the project. And, like, how do you give feedback that empowers, but doesn't deflate someone?
Ooh, that's a great question, Michael. And that's not easy actually, because there have been times where I see work and I'm like, oh, my feedback on this is going to be really harsh. And I know if I start saying these things, it's going to be hard, and the person might take some offense to it. So I think the first thing is always to sort of like gauge, is this something that I need to have a conversation to give this feedback? Because if I try to type it out, it could take me, an hour to get the words right and to say all the little fine details. Screenshots help me. So I will take like a screenshot, or I'll zoom in on something and take a picture of it and then draw like markup, right? So just like proofreading notes, learn that from the proofreading days, but like on designs, right? And instead of trying to put all the details necessarily there, I can just kind of put like a heading, and then I can say, let's have a meeting and let's go into feedback and output. Now, if it's at our events, the way that our events work, we always ask that people, give feedback in a compliment sandwich structure where it's a positive note about what they see, what do they like. And then I always like to say a push. How can you push this to be better? So give them a piece of advice that would help them push this design further, right, into a better position. And then the third piece is the ending on a positive note there. So that's hence the compliment sandwich is, being positive, critique, and then positive, so that nobody feels deflated at the end, because you're giving them that positive, uplifting energy and positive feedback loop happening to be like, this work is good. You can make it better by doing this. And that's why I see that your work is doing a good job, because you're like that. So I feel like those are the sort of key things that are going to help someone have the energy and the momentum to be able to carry your feedback into the real world. Because if you just give negative feedback, can someone execute on that? Yeah, or are they going to run away or feel deflated and de-energized? Yeah. How about you, Michael?
Well, I've had to kind of come from both ends of this one because I kind of had to learn from getting really bad feedback. And then
Deflates.
that really formed the way that I gave, because I actually almost like was paralyzed when I actually was put in a position of
Ooh,
actually giving critique or, or trying to help.
yeah.
So but what I found out was that, like, the more that I do like portfolio reviews, or people, like I always hear people say like, oh, this one person said this one thing one time, and I'm like, well, I mean, I'm glad that you're holding on to these things, but you should really let that go, because like I'm sure the
Yeah.
person that said it, may not have been in a position of like authority or even, expertise to help you grow. And it was more like, just do what I say. So I think that the way I approach it is I'm upfront with people the way that I'm going to give feedback. And I think that
Nice.
that's also a good clarification of how I approach it, because like I may say, like I go, make the headline centered, and make these two elements, make them work with the headline. Okay. That's very direct, and a lot of people will take that offensively because
Hmm.
I'm too direct. There's
Mm.
some massaging in there. But what I say is, I'm talking to you like a creative director. Like
Yeah.
we're on a
Yeah.
deadline, and I'm cutting out all the fat. We can chit chat over a beer later, but it's like we need like in
Good
a
point.
like a NFL game. They don't go like, well, let's go sidebar this. No, it's like in the moment. It's like we got to get this. We have a deadline. I have all these things going on. So I think that also the tone is also something that I work hard on, because I'm from the school of like just get it done. That's what I've had my whole life. But I think there's more of a personal relationship these days as to younger designers, as well as how they get feedback and how they receive it the best. So it's been
Yeah.
it's been a work in progress, I think, for all of us to do this.
That's a great point, Michael. I mean, there's times where being upfront can really help people because they can kind of just mentally prepare themselves of like, oh yeah, this is game time. Let's roll. Like, and let's hear the feedback, and then let's try it. Let's move forward and get this done. And you're right. There's a lot of people who like we stick something sticks from a negative feedback that we've had, and so we start to sort of maybe get stuck there, paralyzed in the sort of inner critic because it's echoing those same words. But this is why sharing your work with other people can help you get out of your head, right? And get out of your like way on that paralysis state that sometimes we get into as creatives. And oftentimes you'll actually find people's reaction to your work is positive, and they're just
Mhm.
giving you a little direction and guidance that could make it even better. So it's great to put your work out there, ask mentors for feedback, or share your work at a space like Type Thursday, because you're gonna get feedback that's gonna help you grow and learn, right? And then take that design and really make it engage people, cut through the noise.
Yeah, and I also learned the difference between critique and criticism. And I
Yes,
had to do
yes.
this recently because someone wanted me to do like a UI UX audit of an app. And I kind of had to say the things that were like really standing out to me, which was it was the color. They actually had they didn't have much contrast in the app, and there
Oh
was a
no.
lot of like it was super dense. But I'm like, if you just make where the text is, make that white behind there and just make it black
Mhm.
text, you've achieved like what you want right there.
Yep.
And
Solve the
then also
problem.
things like there was like double periods and things. I'm like, how? I mean, I'm gonna see that right away. And so I'm not saying it to criticize. I'm saying it to
Mm.
actually make it better. And and I click on things as well. I make sure that it goes where it says it's supposed to go. So I don't skip over those things. And if your ego is fragile when it comes to this, I'm not. It's not meant to be. Like I'm literally doing it just to make everything better.
Well said. Well said. And in a user experience context, I think that the experience applies to all these different industries and practices. Is that like if the design itself is not usable, then you're going to be not meeting the metrics, right? You're not going to be engaging people. People are not going to click. People are not going to buy. They're not going to hear your message, right? So when you make the experience reach people effectively, and like you said, the contrast ratio has to be high enough so that we can read the words. So a lot of people will pick when I'm working with designers, they pick colors that don't have high enough contrast ratio. That's something I did in my early career, even mid-career. I would do the same thing until I learned about accessibility issues and the fact that well, a certain colors won't contrast enough to be able to read, right? So now, so I have something there, whether it's in print or digital, half your audience can't read it. Well, of course they're not going to click buy now, because they can't read it, they can see it. So I think you're right. These principles apply in all different design practices, and that's why I think it's great we're talking about it now, because you can carry these into your daily design workflow.
Yeah, and the last person that you want to see your problem or interact with your problem is your customer. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and usually
sure.
the designer usually takes the blame for that, of not
Yep.
seeing it. So
Yeah. Even
that's
if
a
you
big
didn't
thing.
create the problem, but if you didn't catch the problem, you could still
That's it.
be the one to blame, right? So because they're hiring an expert with a design experience, this is where you need to lean in and share your experience and be able to advocate for design with your clients you work with. And that's where, yeah, again, why presenting at Type Thursday helps you, because you can learn how to talk about design and make a case for design, as well as hear how other people make a case for why they might change something. And then that gets your brain thinking faster, quicker. So when it comes up in a conversation with the customer, client, you're able to just have the answers much faster there.
Yeah, you're right. And when you present something at Type Thursday, and this is something I learned a long time ago, and it got me kind of addicted to it. Like I wanted to show my work all the time.
Yeah.
Was I had created the ability to, and confidence to be open with my work, but also take the notes or leave the notes. It's also, you don't have to like take, you don't have, I think that that's also something that people also kind of misconstrue in this whole thing, is that like every note is not a note to change something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a feedback, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
you can take the good and the bad with what it is, but if you keep on hearing the same things over and over again, I think it's something that you should think about as your designs, especially when you're getting feedback from people that are more experienced, but also have more better eyes on this, and are working in bigger projects. Um, I think we may have lost you, Matteo. Are you still there? So when he comes back, I'll put him on the stage right away. But yeah, so um, whenever I, give a critique to someone or a student or someone that I'm working with, I'm always mindful that these these things that I say are
A little connection issue there. My
there you go.
apologies.
No,
Welcome.
no
I'm
worries,
back.
no
I'm back.
worries.
Good to be back.
Yes.
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah, no, no. I was, I'm always mindful about how I come off when I am giving feedback. Knowing like I need feedback too, and I think that that's also something too. Like I'm not above getting feedback. I'm not.
Mhm,
My design
mhm,
career has been long enough where I could probably be arrogant about it and say like, oh yeah, whatever. But actually, I'm still curious about growing. I'm curious about the current state of design. So I'm willing to get feedback. And I probably don't ask for it enough. What would you say about that for a professional who's actually, been in the business for a while and has practices and processes? How do you feel about taking and receiving feedback?
it's being human. It's still hard. Okay, right? Like as humans, we get really attached to the things that we create. When you make something as a designer, you're also sometimes attach your identity to that thing. So it's not easy to get feedback about your creative soul, right? Because it's like getting feedback about yourself. But something that I've always heard, it's easier said than done, is to separate yourself from the work, right? So when someone's giving you feedback, they're not critiquing you, and they're not critiquing you as a person. They're critiquing the project that you put in front of them and how it's going to engage in the real world for other customers and whatever that end goal is. If it's to buy something, sign up for something, that's what we're critiquing. And as soon as you are able to separate that in your brain and then get the feedback, you'll see already a new sort of openness that you're able to sort of receive the feedback with. And then that's also how I try to approach things and letting people know. hey, this is about the work and this is about the problem we're trying to solve. And the solution you've provided may not be getting us to solving that problem the best way. And so that's, we always contextualize it to, it's not you, but here's the problem that we're faced with. Here's a solution that you've tried to create, or but it's like we're trying to fit maybe a square into a circle. We just got to shave the edges off, or it's almost a circle. We just got to shave the edges off a little bit more, and then it'll fit through to solve the problem. So yeah, I think it's just sort of acknowledging that we're all human. We all have feelings when it comes to getting feedback and giving feedback, and being kind, courteous, and polite. I think the art of constructive critique is keeping in mind that we want to help each other grow and learn. And we all can learn from each other too. There's no one person who has all the answers in the room. And so I think it's that open dialogue and communication back and forth as well. But keeping in mind that, yeah, we're here to solve this problem. How can we all push this idea further? And just being open to collaborate creatively.
So here's the elephant in the room that and maybe that's why we have this discussion. So do you think that sometimes people will take criticism as not in what you were saying, but actually an indictment on your skill level?
Let me rephrase that one for me, Michael, so clear.
So what I'm saying is, it's like sometimes I think that you know, people might take it that they don't think that they're good enough to do the designs that these other people are saying. So because I always I kind of felt like that sometimes when my bosses would say like, you know, like make, and I'm just like, well, I go, you know, I don't know if I can make it like that. I didn't say that to them. And it's actually, it was hard for me to make something bad. And it was also hard for me to make what they were actually, and kind of mind read in a sense of what they really wanted. So I couldn't do that fast. And so like, I felt like they were kind of more infringing on what my skill level was at that time. And I think now I could probably do it a little bit more flawlessly because I have a better filter for all this. But like if I'm going to talk to a younger designer and expect them to be at a super pro level and fast, that may be a lot of pressure in my directions that I'm giving them.
Yeah. I think this is a good question. So it's about definitely acknowledging where this person is at in their career. You know, how many years of experience do they have in practice versus are they just out of school, right? And then based on feedback, I wouldn't say no. Like, I think people do get in their heads, and I've gotten in my head too with getting feedback where I'm like, oh, I'm definitely not good enough to get this to where it needs to go then because the feedback was harsh. But that's not the case. It's actually a lot of times you just need a good mentor, you need good guidance, and then you can get it to that end point, right? It's kind of like trying to run a marathon but not having any water at all along the route. Like, sometimes the feedback feels like that. We're running the marathon, we're trying to get to the end goal, but our body is just shutting down and we need a little bit of water along the journey to finish the race and hit the goal. And that's from the water is your mentorship or reaching out to people, your community, your network, researching, seeing what's been done by other designers trying to solve similar problems, looking at your competitors and seeing how they've like made it the same thing that you're trying to make. And then suddenly you're like, wait a second, what they've made is actually like, it's better than this, but I could do that too. Now you start to see like the reality is, well, I could do that because you have the clear steps to get there versus sometimes we have just an emotional reaction when we tell ourselves we're not good enough. So yeah, I think having a mentor is a great thing, and you get mentorship through volunteering in the community and working with other people, building community like we are at Type Thursday, or our friends here at AIGA, who also build community and give mentorship to each other. So that's a key factor that will help anyone in their career. Is having someone to call or lean on in those times when you get harsh feedback and you need someone to call on, you know.
Yeah, and I'm going to equate this to something I'm pretty passionate about, which is music. I heard this one guy say like that he was talking about like bands, like literal bands, like with drummer, guitarist, singers. And there used to be bands back in the day that would just tour like garage bands, and they would just tour around wherever they could, and it would get bigger and their circle would get bigger, and they would just kind of more like, for instance, like a No Doubt is a perfect example. Like bands that just would, play and play out, get followings, and eventually become bigger and bigger. And today in music, it's not like that. You have to like have a built-in following it's just the music scene is a lot different now. And I think the same thing is for artists, and I think this is where Type Thursday and Type Thursday LA, um, where we can create safe, supportive, creative spaces for artists to have those little, like, it's our garage band in a sense, and we can
Yeah, yeah,
workshop stuff before we put it out there, before we do all these
yeah.
things, build these little communities. And I think that as artists, we think that we don't, we're kind of insulated in a sense that we would never put our work out there, if we didn't have to.
You're absolutely right. There were so many years where I was too shy, too afraid to share my work with anyone. So I was just like inner critic was so loud, and the feelings were too much, and then I had people in the community like Chris and Chin running Type Thursday before me. And when I started to go to the events, she was the chapter lead, and she would see me, my excitement, and I would participate, give feedback to the other people. And she would ultimately, after the event, come up to me and be like, "Yeah, Mateo, when are you going to show work? The way you give feedback shows me you're ready to show work," and receive some feedback. And I was like, "Oh, no, 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 I'm too shy. I'm too scared. I couldn't get up there and do that." And she's like, "No, no, no, you can." So having someone who champions you, who invites you, she had to invite me and remind and ask me probably 5 times or more, but she was just consistent and always supportive. And finally, I said yes. And when I did show my work for the first time at Type Thursday, I was absolutely nervous inside. I was like probably shaking like a leaf, because I was so anxious. And I hadn't, like you said, I'm a creative, so I usually create into my den, and no, it never sees the light of the day until it's done or something like that. But to have someone give me feedback and critiques while I was still working on something was scary, because I'm like, yeah, this obviously isn't done, so it looks bad. Which is sometimes the best time to show it, because if you can show them what you're thinking, you can show them your process, you can show them your research, you can show them your iterations, your sketches. Now you get a great direction for where you should go to finalize that piece and how to do it better. So that's where I got hooked on the Type Thursday format, because I was getting so much excellent direction on like, oh yeah, this isn't finished yet, but where I'm going, I didn't even think of the solution. You guys just gave me 3 new solutions to try, and it would just supercharge my creativity for the whole week or the whole month. I would just be trying those things, and it would lead to new ideas, and my creativity would just flow in new ways. And I was like, I have to do more of this. And so I just kept showing up, and every month I would present more work that I could. So it's it's great. So constructive critiques are powerful for creatives.
Absolutely. I used to work in a design office with some really great guys, and we kind of hazed each other quite a bit with our own designs, because we knew, like, we were super excited, like, our egos were kind of paper thin when it came to, like, getting feedback, or like receiving it, or and we'd always walk in, and then we were going to go to lunch, and I'd see something on the screen, and I'd go, "Ooh, you're gonna use that font? Okay." And it's like, and I said it more not in a real way, but in a kind of a joking way, but you knew that it would really get to someone if you were to give that feedback, right? And like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like what's wrong with it? But we got to that point where we were so, like, confident in kind of the way that we had camaraderie with each other, that
Mhm.
it didn't matter. But if it was the wrong person that said that, that would have like shot through me, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
so you have to be really careful about, like, the things you say, and be directed, be direct, but also, I don't know. It's sometimes people aren't looking for feedback, but you have to give it to them.
It's also true. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes we don't know. We need it. Yeah. Yep. I've been in
Yes.
that boat, and I've seen it as well. Well, Michael, this looks like a good time to wrap up, because I've got to get running off to
Yeah.
a design conference again.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today to live stream with me. And everybody who's tuned in, oh my gosh, thank you all so much for tuning in and joining Michael and I in this conversation. Michael, any things for us before we go?
Yes, Type Thursday Phoenix is on October 23rd, and Type Thursday Los Angeles is
We're going to be October 30th. See you then.
right on. Yes, and if you're at Adobe Max, that's where I will be that last week. So hopefully I'll see everyone there. And we will see you next week with another live stream from Michael Mondragon and Matheo Cadena. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
Great week.